The world is witnessing a betrayal so brazen, so calculated that it could change the balance of power forever. The EU, once a trusted ally of the US, has chosen to turn its back on Washington and embrace China in a move that reeks of desperation, greed, and sheer hypocrisy. After decades of standing side by side with the US, Europe has decided that money speaks louder than loyalty. Beijing is offering lucrative trade deals, technological collaboration, and economic stability, things that Washington, drowning in its own chaos, can no longer provide. European leaders who once condemned China's policies are now rolling out the red carpet for Xi Jinping, proving that their so-called Western values were nothing more than a convenient lie. But let's not pretend that the US is an innocent victim. Washington has spent decades bullying its allies, demanding loyalty while giving nothing in return. Trump's reckless tariffs, Biden's weak leadership, and a political system hijacked by billionaire elites like Elon Musk have turned the US into an unreliable, self-absorbed empire in decline. The same nation that once led the free world is now waging economic wars against its own partners, pushing Europe straight into Beijing's arms. The arrogance of American policymakers, their belief that Europe would always fall in line, has backfired spectacularly. Brussels isn't just ignoring Washington's warnings about China. It's actively working with Beijing to build a new global order without the US at the center. And while the West tears itself apart, China is quietly executing one of the most brilliant geopolitical strategies of the century. Beijing doesn't need to start a war when Washington and Brussels are sabotaging themselves. The EU, desperate for economic stability, is looking past China's human rights abuses, military aggression, and surveillance state tactics, all in exchange for trade agreements and industrial support. Xi Jinping isn't forcing Europe to come to the table. European leaders are crawling to him on their own. The hypocrisy is astounding. The same politicians who condemn China's influence are now selling their industries, their markets, and their integrity to the highest bidder. This isn't just a trade dispute. This is a seismic shift in global power that will have consequences for decades. Washington, once the leader of the Western world, is now watching its own allies forge partnerships with its biggest rival, Europe. Once a pillar of transatlantic unity, is proving that money and survival come before principles. And China's playing the long game, watching its competitors destroy themselves while it builds an empire. What happens next? Will the US retaliate? Will Europe regret its decision? Or is this the beginning of a new world order where Washington is no longer in control? Stay with us till the end. We're just getting started. Hello and welcome back to Innovative Check YouTube channel, where we delve into the innovative and transformative projects changing our world. If you're new to the channel and enjoy learning about innovation stories around the world, you've come to the right place. Please subscribe, like, and comment to help boost our videos on YouTube. The shifting tides of global alliances have taken a dramatic turn, sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles and economic markets alike. For years, the EU navigated a careful balancing act between its transatlantic partner, the US, and the growing economic powerhouse of China. That balance, however, has crumbled under the weight of escalating trade wars, political hostilities, and an increasingly aggressive stance from Washington. Now, in a move that many see as a betrayal, the EU appears to be leaning into a deeper partnership with Beijing, one that could reshape the world order in ways the US never anticipated. The catalyst for this geopolitical realignment has been the relentless push from the US to impose tariffs on key industries, from semiconductors to electric vehicles. The economic warfare, spearheaded by both the White House and influential business moguls like Elon Musk, has driven European leaders to rethink their dependency on the US market. While Washington continues its battle to weaken China's technological dominance, particularly in industries involving AML and TSMC, the EU is now actively seeking ways to collaborate with Beijing rather than isolate it. Behind closed doors, meetings between top officials from Brussels and Beijing have intensified. With China presenting itself as a more reliable and stable economic partner, the shifting rhetoric from European leaders, including Ursula von der Leyen, Soya de Vries, signals a remarkable pivot away from the confrontational stance once championed by Washington. Rather than bowing to the US demand for economic decoupling, the EU has started to entertain the idea of greater integration with China's vast industrial ecosystem. Just a quick reminder to hit the like button below. YouTube has been restricting my videos a lot recently because of bots, so your like does help out this video massively in terms of the algorithm in YouTube. The numbers tell a clear story. Trade between China and the EU surged to $785.8 billion in 2024, a figure that stands in stark contrast to the declining trade volumes between Europe and the US. The steady increase in Chinese exports to the EU, despite Washington's efforts to curb Beijing's economic influence, highlights the resilience of these commercial ties. While US officials continue to frame China as the greatest economic threat, European policymakers are now openly acknowledging Beijing's role as a stabilizing force in the global economy. Trump's return to the political forefront has only accelerated this transformation. His protectionist policies, which include threats of new tariffs on European industries, have left EU leaders scrambling for alternatives. Brussels, once wary of becoming overly dependent on China, now sees Beijing as an indispensable counterbalance to the volatility coming out of Washington. The Chinese government, recognizing this window of opportunity, has wasted no time in capitalizing on the fractures emerging in the once unshakable transatlantic alliance. The diplomatic maneuvering has not gone unnoticed in Washington. The Biden administration, attempting to salvage its grip on European allies, has been working behind the scenes to dissuade the EU from strengthening its ties with China. However, the damage may already be done. The repeated unpredictability of US trade policies, compounded by political instability in Washington, has convinced many in Europe that long-term strategic alignment with China is not just an option, it is a necessity. If you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and comment. Perhaps the most telling indication of this shift comes from Germany, the economic engine of the EU. For years, Berlin maintained a delicate diplomatic balance, engaging with both Washington and Beijing while avoiding outright commitments. That ambiguity is fading fast. German automakers, facing devastating tariffs from the US, have begun lobbying for stronger trade relations with China. Chancellor Olaf Scholz, while careful with his words, has increasingly voiced the need for economic pragmatism in dealing with Beijing, a sentiment that many interpret as a quiet endorsement of deeper integration with the Chinese market, beyond economics. The political dimension of this realignment is equally significant. China has skillfully positioned itself as a defender of multilateralism. In contrast to Washington's increasingly unilateral approach, the appeal of Beijing's model, which offers economic cooperation without overt political interference, is gaining traction among European policymakers tired of being caught in Washington's geopolitical crossfire. Yet this shift is not without its risks. The US, unwilling to lose its influence over Europe, is likely to retaliate in ways that go beyond mere tariffs. Washington has already begun exerting pressure on key European industries. The warning of the national security implications of closer ties with China, the White House has also intensified its rhetoric, accusing the EU of playing into Beijing's hands at the expense of transatlantic unity. Despite these warnings, the momentum appears to be on Beijing's side. The coming months will be crucial in determining just how far the EU is willing to go in redefining its relationship with China. If the recent diplomatic exchanges and trade negotiations are any indication, Washington may soon find itself facing an economic and political reality it had long feared, a Europe that is no longer willing to be a subordinate player in the US-led global order. This unfolding drama is far from over. The US, accustomed to being the central force in shaping global economic policies, now finds itself in a precarious position. The more Washington pushes, the more it risks driving its allies straight into Beijing's embrace. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome your thoughts and questions on this complex and vital subject. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video, and subscribe to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing and growing its influence. Your subscriptions and likes motivate us to generate more content, so please keep supporting us. Check out this video showing on your screen right now, and I will see you on the other side.